Well, I'd like to make an excuse, but I guess I'll just soldier on. Say, I really don't have any good excuses for not doing another show. Well, maybe I need some more excuses. I don't know. No lo contendere. No lo contendere. The Alibi Elf. Well, if you haven't joined me before, this is a series on The Secret by Byron Price. I looked through the book to see if I can come up with what the authors were talking about in 1982. So on page 126 and 127 in The Secret, and then again on a half a page of 128, our friend Byron talks about Alibi Elf. Well, who is the Alibi Elf? Who's been making all these excuses? Well, I don't know, but I got into the section when I was reading about the history, and he was talking about faulty intelligence and Paul Revere in Boston and the Battle of Lexington and Concord and the Revolutionary War and the shot heard around the world and all of this. And they mentioned this faulty intelligence. And so I finally found out that apparently that this Lieutenant Sutherland of the 38th Regiment of Foot marched with his British troops under the command of General Gage from Boston, Massachusetts, on the night of 18 April 1775. They were led by Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith. The next morning, Sutherland and another officer, Lieutenant Adair of the Marines, at they were at Lexington, and they were confronted by another group led by Major John Pitcairn. Well, anyway, that was the basically the first shot. The reference to Boston, the reference to General Gage, to Sutherland, and so um, I don't know if the important part to get out of this is Boston or the British Army officers, Gage and Sutherland, uh, or which of these is the most important to this. But having the knowledge that one of the casks was found in uh, Boston, perhaps this is what we're really talking about. Well, so that gives you a little history of the Revolutionary War and the first shot heard and what they might be talking about with the Revolutionary War. The next and other thing mentioned here was scam. So scam was this basically entrapment or bribery scheme that the government concocted in the late 70s and early 80s to get at whether or not some United States congressmen and women were taking bribes. And they set up this basically operation where they targeted people who they thought were taking money. And the one that they mentioned in the scam scandal is the one who had taken bundles of hundreds. Actually, said that no, I was actually just conducting an investigation. That's what I was doing, and I was doing my job as a U.S. representative from Florida and investigating all of this. And that no, the government entrapped me, and I was actually not entrapped because I was trying to entrap the entrappers. Well, since that's basically the gist of the app scam person they're talking about, we need to look into Richard Kelly because Richard Kelly is the one who basically said that he was the one that was trying to entrap them. And so Richard Kelly was a sole Republican involved in the scam and said that he was only pretending to be involved with bribery from Abdul Enterprises. He claimed that he was conducting his own operation dealing with corruption and that the FBI was ruining his investigation. Okay, so that's the guy they're talking about. So we need to find out about Richard Kelly. So Richard Kelly is a Florida politician. He was born July 31st, 1924, and he died, well, in 2005, it looks like. So he was born in Atlanta, Georgia. If you like Atlanta, here's some connection to that. His mother abandoned him in an orphanage at an early age. He attended a one-room school in Crystal Springs. He served in the United States Marine Corps. How many of these people is Byron Price going to have in the either Navy or the Marines? I just don't know. So he attended Colorado State University and Vanderbilt College of Law, and he graduated from the University of Florida College of Law in Florida in 1952. I don't know where the University of Florida College of Law is. Is that in Tallahassee? Nope, that's in Gainesville. So, well, there's some Gainesville. While in Colorado, he married the first of five. What? Oh my God, he married 5 times. So he started to practice law in Zephyr Hills. And Zephyr Hills is a suburb of Tampa. So basically, this is the congressman from Tampa, Florida area, where he represented the House of Representatives. He was elected to the House, and he actually served twice. Anyway, they tried to impeach him a couple of times, it looks like. Okay, so in 1975, he opposed food stamps, aid to the Chrysler Corporation. Oh, there's that Chrysler building, and financial trouble in New York City. Oh, not a fan of New York. He attributed New York City's fiscal crisis to the pay for police and firefighters and aid to poor people. This guy's pretty decent Florida representative. Well, in 1980, he got caught up in app scam, so he lost his reelection bid. He was convicted of taking $25,000 in bribes. So there you go. I think they're talking about Kelly. I think they're talking about a guy from born in Atlanta. And if you look at the picture of the actual guy in the prison suit, he is a really tall man. He has a fairly distinctive facial feature of a nose and eyes. And if you take a look at Mr. Richard Kelly, U.S. House of Representatives from Florida's 5th District, you will think that they are probably talking about Richard Kelly. And I don't know if this points you just to Florida or it points you to Tampa, Florida, and Zephyr. But I'm pretty sure that that's the Elf Alibi. That's the app scam politician guy. And I'm pretty sure that the Battle of Lexington and Concord is what they're talking about in the section about the British general. So we had this other mention over here, the Alibi Elf is not concerned with matters of objective innocence or guilt, but so dazzling are his powers of justification and rationalization. He impresses the clients through mountains of evidence. And so I don't know. I looked up this guy, and I don't know if it's possible that there's a relationship here or not, but the thing that kind of got me is the yes sir, no sir aspect of this. And I remember the movie An Officer and a Gentleman. And this plot of this movie is basically a U.S. Navy aviation officer candidate school. This would be right up that Navy theme that old Byron Price seems to implement in his story, and this one has to do with Port Townsend, Washington. And I don't know if he would just pull in this whole officer and a gentleman theme into this, but this is where that one line that comes from yes sir, no sir. It's in this movie, and so I don't know. You can take the officer and a gentleman tangent if you'd like in The Secret, based upon the yes sir, no sir, no excuses, sir. But if you like this, you can look at Richard Gere, who was born in Philadelphia, in 49. And he started his work professionally at the Seattle Repertory Theater. And you can go that direction. Then you can go to Deborah Lynn Winger and jump off on that exciting tour of her being born in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, into an Orthodox Jewish family. And her father, Robert Winger, was a meat packer. The meat packing district, I think. And then if you look, if that would just put you right at the sailors and the YMCA in at the Greenwich Village, if you will. I don't know if you can really take these jump off tangents that far or not. But if you like the no sir, no excuses sir line, that's directly out of Mayo, Zach Mayo's line and in An Officer and a Gentleman, then you've got that whole tangent you can investigate out of this. But I don't think you need to go there because I really don't think that's it. I'm trying to figure out in the image on page 127, the actual tower, where that frickin' is that the Quake Tower, and is that so? Is it? Could you get San Francisco out of the image on page 127 with the Alibi Elf being the guy at the prison in San Francisco, and then that being the Quake Tower? But I don't know if that's quite what the Quake Tower looks like. Um, so the 5th District includes Tallahassee, Jacksonville, and Disney World. Just for fun, that's going back to Mr. Kelly. So the Alibi Elf actually continues on the next page and takes up half a page where they talk about Daniel Webster. And he beat the devil, and the devil was Scratch himself, Irving Hudson. And so that would put you in that Hudson River deal if you wanted to go with all of that. But Daniel Webster, he is a pretty prominent political figure. He looks a lot. He's got the distinguishing nose and eyes, and he looks a little bit like the figure here that we have for the Alibi Elf. And hey, I think they have an African American figure in this image because I think they're trying to point out his stance on slavery, being a northerner, and several bargains that he worked through in order to work with the South and northern states during his time of Secretary of State. And he was born in Salisbury, New Hampshire. He, I'm not sure exactly what you're supposed to get out of Daniel Webster, but his name was specifically mentioned here. Webster has a dictionary. There's a dictionary. He was involved in the Andrew Jackson administration, and so you have a reference that would put you at that Jackson Street through Mr. Webster here. But he has such an illustrious career that it's kind of fun to try to figure out what exactly is the connection. But when I finally read through this, I came to the conclusion that when he helped beat the devil, he was talking about Irving Hudson. And so Irving Hudson, let's see, Irving Hudson. Okay, Irving Hudson. Oh, well, that's the wrong one. This is a rugby player. That's the fun part of Wikipedia. When you look up a name, you might get the wrong one. I don't want Dear Irving. I want Hudson. I want. Let me just type in Irving Hudson and Daniel Webster. Let's see what comes up. The devil. Oh, I got it. The devil and Daniel Webster. Oh, that's what I was supposed to look up. Damn it. Oh, Daniel Webster. Benet addresses social, moral, and cultural values based during the period. And so, yeah, that's what I was getting at here. So there's actually the story called uh, The Devil and Dan Webster. That's what we need to look at. So let's go there. That's what that references to. The Devil and Daniel Webster. It was actually a 1941 film, but it's a short story written by Stephen Vincent Benet. Uh, and it's based upon a narrative poem of John Brown's Body, of which he received the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. So this is the guy that the story is about, and basically the themes are slavery, patriotism. It was adapted into a show, and so that's I think the reference they're making to is uh, Stephen Vincent Benet's story of the Devil and Daniel Webster when they talk about uh, this story. And I think what you're supposed to get to is this guy, Stephen Vincent Benet, who is the short story writer who was born in Fountain Hill, Pennsylvania, in the Lehigh Valley, and wrote some other stories. One of them was about, I think, Brown. And so I think that's what that's supposed to get you. But then also in the same image on the page 150 or 128, they also show another lawyer, an African American lawyer. And I think that caricature might be out of uh, the Devil and Daniel Webster. And that might be, if you looked into that book, you might actually find that image. And that would then solidify the idea that that's who they were pointing to. I thought perhaps they were talking about Thurgood Marshall, who Thurgood Marshall got nominated in the Johnson administration to the Supreme Court. African American, obviously involved in Nolo contendering. He would be an alibi elf, certainly, because he was a lawyer before he became a judge. And so, alibi elf could be Thurgood Marshall as well, and perhaps something in Thurgood Marshall's career would lend itself to a solve location. I most definitely think there is something about Thurgood Marshall's and a solve location. Um, but I'm not ready to put that one up on the board yet and say it's got to be. Um, I think there's some more learning to do, some more education that we may have to find ourselves involved in before we can make that decision. Uh, I think the gavel's still in the air on that. But it's sometimes difficult to separate the truth from fiction, and all things being equal, uh, we should make sure that we try to practice that everybody gets a fair shake. Okay, I pretty much punned that one as far as I could go. I truly believe Thurgood Marshall has something to do with the solve location, and it's that he's presented here under the Alibi Elf, along with the general who led the British. And if you combine the guy that led the British with this Supreme Court justice, it takes you to a certain location. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm still working on that puzzle and hope to solve it, so I'm not going to give away all my best clues. But there's a there. Oh, God, I hate that phrase. All right, folks. Well, thanks so much and for joining me on this episode of The Secret Solve. I'll be back when I get excited some more to talk about the Mirror Chimera on the Wall, because I think I've talked about as much as I know about the Alibi Elf. Well, good morning, Amy Gwen. I appreciate you joining in. I'm getting ready to wrap up this segment of the Alibi Elf. Uh, Going to move on into the Mira Chimera. So, anyway, thanks for joining. I'll be back in a moment to talk about the Mira Chimera.